All right, we are going to look at masks. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a composition. So let me go and drag my video. So this is my source video, and I'm going to drag it over here into my projects window. And so now you can see my soccer video is showing up here. And I'm going to drag this down into the layers. And once I drag that into the layers, you'll see that this creates a composition. And let's look into our composition settings. And from here you can see that it will set up automatically the correct size and height of my video and the correct time, which it'll be the same time as the video and the same size. I'm just going to click cancel. So what we're going to do is we want to blur two of the children's heads in this project. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to blur this guy's head right here. And we're going to do that by adding a layer and then adding a blurry effect to that layer and then creating a mask that will show the blurriness just around the face. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you how to add the adjustment layer, which is there's two different ways. You can come up here to the top and there's layer, new, adjustment layer. You can also come down here and click in this open area in the layers section, control, new, adjustment layer right here. And that automatically will go on top of our soccer game video, which is what we want. And let's see, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of the layer. I'm just going to make it this will maybe darken the purple so it'll look a little more obvious. And you can see it will show purple edges, and I want to, that'll be important later. Okay, so we have our adjustment layer. So now what we want to do is we want to add our effect, which is the blur. And again, you can do kind of the same thing. You can go up here, effect. There's different ways of finding it. We've got the Gaussian blur right here. Oh, here it is, blur and sharpen. And down here you can find Gaussian blur. Or you can also come down here, control click, effect, blur and sharpen, Gaussian blur. And it might show up here already because I've already selected it before. So now it's going to be showing our effects control panel up here. And you can see here it shows blurriness, and it shows the number that it's set at right now, which is at 0. So we have no blurriness that we can see. So I can click on these blue numbers and I can drag it to the right. And you can see how blurry it gets. You can get it so blurry you can hardly see anything. So I do want it to be pretty noticeable. So I'm gonna go to maybe 15. You can also select it by the number. You just click and then you can just change the number to say 14. Okay, and that's pretty blurry. Okay, so now we have our blurred effect on our adjustment layer. Let's say we want to rename our adjustment layer. Let's see if we can. Let's control click on there again also. Down here at the bottom, which you can't see it, it will say rename. I'll just call this adjust layer blur. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add our mask. And we want to make sure that we're on our adjustment layer because this is where our mask is going to be. It's going to be within our adjustment layer. So we want the shape tool, and in case yours isn't showing correctly, we want to hit, I believe I'm hitting option, click, And you can even try the rounded rectangle too if you wanted to, but I'm going to select the ellipse tool because it's kind of a shape of a head or a face. And I'm just going to drag the shape around the child's face. If I hit the space bar tool, I can also move it around. And I think that looks pretty good right there. And maybe I'll show you how we can adjust the shaping and the sizing of it later. But right now we just want to start getting into animating this. So there you can kind of see that it's blurred. If you can't, we'll go ahead and choose our zoom tool. Zoom in. I'm going to, let's see, I don't know if I want it. There we go. And I'm going to I'm going to click on the hand tool, get it centered, so hopefully you can see that the face is blurred. And the also important thing is now I am in the mask section. Under the adjustment blur, it already opens up the mask for me so you can see it. And we'll make this window a little bit bigger. I'm going to open, whoops, let me select my selection tool right here. I'm going to be using that a lot now. I'm going to open up the mask. This is where I'm going to start animating it. I'm going to drag my timeline. As you can see, the video moves, but now my mask doesn't. So the mask is not moving with the child at this point. So let me go ahead and make sure you're on make sure you're on mask 1 when you're doing this. And it should look sort of like this. You should have 4 points and drag either one of the points, or you can see my purple layer. Let's maybe make this let's make this, let's make it really yellow. So now it really stands out quite a bit. And it'll be different from the adjustment layer. So I'm grabbing it by the edge or one of these points, and I'm going to drag it to his head. I'm going to click on the mask path, and that will give me my first frame. And you'll see it gave me a keyframe over here also. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to drag that edge also. Drag this on. I like that top point. I'm just going to drag it back over to his face. And I went back over the first frame, so that first frame should automatically give you a keyframe. If you're not, you might be doing this wrong. And let me show sometimes what happens. Let me go back. Maybe before, because I know that this gets kind of complicated. So we'll go. Sometimes you'll see that my selection tool is not black. So when I select, you see the purple, and you also see this purple, kind of like a bullseye. You can see purple around here. That means my adjustment layers is being selected. So if I try to move it, I am moving the adjustment layer. You can see that over here too. You see how it's moving the adjustment layer? And I don't want that, so let me hit Command Z. Let me go back, and I'm going to select my mask down here. In the adjustment layer, but I'm doing mask and mask path, or mask 1. Just to show you that this is not what you want to do. You don't want to see your selection tool look white. And you can also see a little square, which it's telling you, okay, you're selecting the outer frame. So what you want to do is you want to see that black selection tool. That means you're selecting just this the selection or just the mask, and that's what we want. So if you even clicked on the middle, you're selecting the adjustment layer again. So we don't want that. So I'm hitting Command Z to undo. I'm just going to click outside and make sure that mask is being selected. Selection tool, make sure your selection tool is black. Okay, that way I know that I'm moving just the mask. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. We're gonna do a keyframe. We'll start on the first frame. Okay, I got my selection tool is black. I'm gonna move it to his face, surround his face. I'm gonna hit the time for the first frame. Okay, I'm gonna move my time frame a little bit. It doesn't matter too much where. You can kind of maybe judge where it might look good. I'm just going to do it here. Make sure my selection tool is black. I'm going to move over his face. I'm going to move the selection tool, the time selector, and you can kind of see it is animating, so it's moving. It's not following that great, but we'll go back and fix that later. Let's go ahead and just kind of get it set up a little bit farther. Let's move them a little bit farther along down here. Again, grabbing with my black selector, I'm going to move it over his face, right here. And it should automatically give you a keyframe down here. You shouldn't have to do it over here. It should just automatically give it to you right here once you change it in the timeline. Let's move it a little bit farther. I'm going to go ahead and click the zoom tool, and I'm going to hit Option, and that will give me the minus. And I'm going to scale it down. Okay, and I'm going to hit the hand tool, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit so I can kind of see the edges. So I want to see where it is I'm going to animate. I'm going to try to get almost to the very end, right here. And let me go back to my selection tool. I'm going to move it over his face again. Here we are. And then we'll go ahead and go to the very end of where he is done, and then I'm just going to move it off of the. So it'd probably be right around here is where it ends up. Let's see how it looks. See if it's following somewhat. You can kind of see it's kind of following along. There's some spots where it doesn't go too well. Right in here. I'm going to go maybe in between my two keyframes, right down here. You can see in between my two keyframes. I'm just going to move this one over about half, right in the center of his face. That looks a little bit better. Sorry, I think my computer's a little bit slow, so it's kind of slow to catch up with everything. So sometimes it looks a little bit better than it is. Now right here it looks like it's way off. So that's definitely a good one for a keyframe. So I'm going to drag it, move it over his face. Again, it creates my keyframe for me. You shouldn't have to create a keyframe. Now it's following pretty good. All right, and I think we got it. I think we're looking pretty good. Let me go in and let me zoom in. So I'm selecting the zoom tool. It's already on the plus, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit closer to his face so I can kind of grab the selection tool and show you also. So I got my mask selected, and this just acts kind of funny sometimes. Let me select outside. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure this out. Oh, I think it's if I select this twice is what I want, and then it gives you this white box around it. So this is one way you can kind of change the shape. So maybe I want to make it a little closer to his face shape, so it's not too far out. And this will actually animate too, but it's going to get bigger because I've made it smaller in that middle frame. So it's going to go big, small, big. When in actuality, it's going to keep getting bigger as he gets closer. So I probably should go undo that. Let me undo that one. Let's go to the first frame. Okay, I have to select it twice. All right, let me get it closer to his face. You can see it's still black, so I'm still allowed to I can still move it. Even while pressing it in the center, because as long as that's showing black, it's okay. Now I'm hitting the return button. Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. I'm hitting the return button in order to get rid of that white. But let me go back and select it twice again. And it's not working for me now. Of course. it's finicky. See, now it's giving me points, and so sometimes you got to just kind of mess around and kind of, now you got points and you can really change the shape. I'm just going to undo that. Okay, so I selected that point twice. Maybe move it out a little bit. So this is if you want to get it closer to the size of your guy's head. Okay. Okay, like right in here, it looks like he's kind of missing it. And it looks still a little bit big, so let's, sometimes I have to hit it 3 and 4 times. Let me try to get a little bit closer to his head size. I'm going to hit the return button to get rid of the white. It should have given me my keyframe down here. Yeah, unfortunately it gets a little bit bigger because I should have probably put this keyframe as the next bigger, as in the next size. Okay, let's try this one a little bit smaller. I'm going to hit return. You can kind of see, and I probably should be doing this on the keyframes whenever I'm changing the size of it. So let's go on this keyframe right here. Try to change it closer to the size right there. Okay. This one looks like it's kind of missing his head quite a bit right about there. So you can see my selection is black. Just move it down. Gives me a keyframe. The size looks pretty good. We'll go here. Looks good. Kind of missing the boat on his head right about there. Okay, let's make sure your selection tool is black. Move it over. Maybe I might want to make this one just a slight bit bigger. Select it a couple, 2, 3 times. Make it a hair bigger. Okay. Well, unfortunately, it's getting smaller. So that's the bad part of doing this. Might have to go back and delete some of these keyframes, and then make this. Oh no, wait, maybe not all of them. Back to where his head ends. So maybe like this one right here, and then make that one. I'm gonna go down here and select my path down here. So I select it a couple, 2 or 3 times, and make that one larger. See, that would have been the better way to do it. But then I have to go back and maybe correct if his face kind of falls out. So I might have to go back and change the. Oops, let me go back down here and select it down here. So I might have to go back and fix that. Hopefully this all makes sense to you guys. And then I can kind of maybe click out. I'm just going to click outside here. And you can kind of see how it looks without the mask. The mask oval around his head, but you can kind of see the blur. And you can kind of see where it kind of misses the boat right there. So maybe I might, because I deleted that frame. So I can maybe go back in here, select my mask, move it over, and you can kind of see it created a keyframe for me. Have to add these keyframes back over again. Zoom out. See, sometimes my computer just can't catch up. Hopefully your guys isn't this slow. But there you can kind of see how it works. We're creating a mask that's animated and following along. All right, probably might fix this one here because see, it kind of misses his face a little bit there. It creates. The size should be good because the two they should be animated in between the two sizes, so the size should be good. All right, and that's it for this lesson.